All right, we're gonna go over dividing fractions um, as a really quick review. Before we do that, we're gonna remind ourselves what dividing actually means. So, let's go with 20 divided by 5. So, 20 divided by 5, and there's several different ways that you can think about division, and I'm gonna lean on equal share, just so that you can remember that. Oops, there you go. So. Um, Equal share means I'm going to make groups of 5 um, until I get to 20. So if you can think of me like, I don't know, passing out marbles or cupcakes or cookies. And so I have 5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5. And then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's another 5. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's another 5. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So if you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 5. So that's why our answer is 4. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now this is review, but I'm going to use this idea to help you understand um, division by fractions. Okay, so let's do the easiest division by fractions. When we take a fraction, we divide by a whole number, right? So like maybe it's 4 sixths divided by 2. So 4 sixths divided by 2. So first I need to see what 4 sixths looks like. And so like pretend that you have a pan of brownies, right? And it's cut up into 6. So um, I'm just going to cut my brownies long and skinny because then you can kind of see it. So there's 6 brownies, but we only have 4 pink brownies left, right? And now we have to divide it into 2. Like maybe you and someone else are sharing your brownies. So you're going to look for um, groups of, or you're going to divide this 4 6 into 2. So here I have, like maybe this is one for me, one for you, one for me, and one for you. Or maybe you saw it as here is mine and here is yours. So now you could see that the answer of 4 6 divided by 2 is 2 of these parts. It's 2 of the parts out of how many? Well, there's 6 parts. So your numerator is always going to tell you how many you have. This is the numerator, and your denominator is going to say out of how many you have. So 4 6 divided by 2, like you had 4 6 of a brownie pan left, and you're dividing it, sharing it between you and your friend. So there's 2 sixths for each of you. Okay. The next one that becomes a little bit more to the next level, and we're just going off division. Like, remember what division is. Division doesn't change um, based on the numbers that we're using. So division back in fourth grade is the same as division in fifth grade and sixth grade and seventh grade and eighth grade and even beyond in high school. It's still the same. You're still figuring out how many of these can get into these kind of thing. So there's that. And then I want to move on to dividing by a fraction. So one of the problems that I have here is 3/8 divided by 3/4. And I'll show you the procedure in just a second, but I just want to give you like what the idea is. So 3/8 divided by 3/4 looks like this. Okay. So first of all, I need my brownie pan, and it looks like this, right? And I'm going to divide it into eighths. So I think I'll go this way. So this is 4, and then I'll cut it down the middle this way. And then I have 1, 2, 3/8. Okay. Now up here, when we divided it by 2, it made sense because it was 1 for me, 1 for you, 1 for me, 1 for you. When you're dividing by a fraction, you're dividing it into sections of 3/4. Does that make sense? Of 3/4, like almost like how we did it up here. Like we're gonna try to make a group of 3/4. Right here, we made groups of 5. There's 5 in each group. How many groups do we get? So here, you're saying, if I had 3/8 of a brownie pan left, and I want to divide it into groups of 3/4, meaning like, I don't know, maybe you're going to give 3/4 of a brownie pan to your neighbor. So how much of that do you actually have? So I'm then going to show you what 3/4 looks like in a different color. So 3/4 of the brownie pan, if you look this way, here's 1/4, here's 2/4, and here's 3/4. And you're thinking, okay, but I don't even have enough for a whole set. That's right. You don't have enough for a whole set. And in fact, if you looked at how much you have 3 sections that you have out of the 6 green sections. Do you see that? So that's kind of our answer right there. Our answer is 3 sections out of the 6 sections, which equals to 1/2. Okay. So let's go over a couple of different ways that you can do this mathematically without drawing pictures every single time. So one of the ways that you can do this is, so 3/8 divided by 3/4. One way that you can do this is, you just, I know this is not very typical, but you can actually just divide across, which in this case, it's pretty nice. So up here, I'm going to go 3 divided by 3 and 8 divided by 4. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and you're like, yay, look, this answer and this answer match. And you're right. So this is one way, where I'm just going to call this dividing across, which will work for sometimes, but it will not work for all the time. And the reason why it doesn't work for all the time is because 8 divided into 4, or 4 divides 8 nicely. But if 4 didn't divide 8 nicely, then you would get a fraction on the bottom, and then that's just a different mess. The other way that a lot of people use is, they multiply by the reciprocal. So multiply by reciprocal. And let's go over this reciprocal. Okay. So the multiply by reciprocal has to do with the fact that, um, like, I'll show you, has to do with the fact that 10 divided by 2 is the same as 10 times, so we're multiplying by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means that you're going to make this guy, the denominator is the numerator and the numerator is the denominator. Okay, so you're going to change this guy to 1/2. And if you look, 10 divided by 2, you know, is 5. And what's half of 10? Oh, that's 5. So dividing, oops, I need more room there. Dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay. So if we took this problem down here and we did 3/8 divided by 3/4, according to this, we can multiply. So I'm going to change that to multiply. So the first guy stays the same. 3/8 is 3/8. And then the second guy, he does, I call it a handstand, which means the 3 now goes on the bottom and the 4 now goes on the top. And then you can multiply. And so when you multiply, the very first thing that I see here is I probably wouldn't multiply, I would simplify. And so when I mean simplify, I say 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 4 divided by 8, they have a common factor of 4. So I'm going to go, how many 4s in 4? 1. How many 4s in 8? 2. And then now I'm multiplying. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay. So a lot of people like this method here because it'll work every single time. The only problem is people forget which one you keep and which one you flip. So just make sure you're always flipping the second one. And then the last little example I will give you is if you have to deal with mixed numbers. Mixed numbers, when you deal with multiplying by the reciprocal or even dividing across, won't work. So the very first thing you have to do is change it so that it's a fraction, um, no mixed number. So for example, this one says 1 and 2/5. So here's another example. 1 and 2/5, hold on, I can't see this, divided by 4/5. So the problem with multiplying by the reciprocal here is this guy right here is not a fraction. He's a mixed number. And whenever we're dealing with this, we always want a numerator and a denominator. So I'm going to change this guy into an improper fraction. And I like improper fractions better than mixed numbers. As a high school teacher, it makes more sense to deal with improper fractions. I almost never deal with mixed numbers unless I'm like answering a word problem. So to convert it, you take, this is basically saying I have 1 whole pan of brownies and 2/5 of a brownie pan. So how many do you have? And I say, okay, well, I have fifths. Good. How many fifths do you have? And well, you have a whole pan, that's 5/5, plus the 2/5 is going to be 7/5. Okay. So I'm saying that 1 and 2/5 equals 7/5. Then now that I have that, now I can do the thing where I multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to keep 7/5, and then I'm going to change divided to times, and then I'm going to go with making this guy on a handstand. So it's 5/4. And so then you could just simplify if you want, like 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 7 and 4 don't simplify, so I'm just going to multiply. So my answer is 7/4, which is equal to 1 and 3/4. Like if I had 7/4 of a brownie, how many whole pans of brownies do I have? I have 1 whole and then 3/4. So there's a lot here that we kind of went over. I'm going to remind you of a couple things. Division is still division, whether we're dividing by whole numbers or fractions. But when we divide by fractions, we use this multiply by the reciprocal. Sometimes in my classroom, I would say copy, change, and then flip. Copy the first number, change the division to multiplication, and then flip your second fraction. And the reason why you want to use this method, and you can, draw your diagrams if you want. This is, I showed you this so that you would remember what division actually is. But you always want to remind yourself, if you don't remember anything, go back to the pictures because that will always tell you how to do that work. Okay, hope that helped.